Welcome back to the 127 Fit podcast. Today's guest is an athlete, father, advocate, and speaker. Today's guest is Sherown Campbell. Sherown, I want to welcome you to the 127 Fit podcast.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Yeah, for sure, man. So we are going to switch things up a little bit from what I regularly do with most of my guests. Instead of asking you 4 questions as a part of the warm-up, Sherown, I'm just going to ask you one question, and then we're just going to take a dive into your story. So the one question that I have for you as a part of the warm-up is, do you have a favorite quote or mantra?
I have quite a few, but recently it's been adversity is a gift.
Okay, cool. And so what is that quote or that kind of that saying? What does that mean to you personally, Sherown?
Just because from my experience and other people that I've met, usually there's some type of hardship or some type of adversity, and people have used that as a tool or used that as a platform to either become the person that they were in the future or to accomplish their goals. So a lot of people look at it negatively and they see these challenges as something hard or adversity is something terrible, but really it just depends on how you use it. So
perfect.
It's been a gift for me.
Love it, man. And we're going to get into that gift here in a little bit. So, Sherown, I just want you, if you don't mind, to share with myself and the listeners kind of where did you grow up? What did those earlier years look like for you? Were you involved in extracurricular activities? Did you play sports? Just unpack a little bit of the younger years for you, if you don't mind.
I was born in Wyoming, moved to Denver, Colorado at a pretty young age. My father had passed when I was 5, so my mom moved down to be closer to the city and for work. Didn't really get heavily involved in the sports, but I did track in my younger years on and off, just playing outside with friends a lot in the community, playing football, basketball, anything that the community was doing pretty much.
Okay, cool. Now, did you find sports to be a type of outlet for you when you were younger?
It was an outlet just to be able to play with friends and all the other kids. That's where I was happy and having fun. With my mom working so much, she would pick up 2 or 3 jobs at a time, and I was just outside playing with the kids.
Okay, cool. Now you mentioned that your dad passed away when you were pretty young. Was there something like was there some sort of impact that had on you as you were growing up, and maybe you were interacting with some of your friends that had dads, and was there a struggle for you because your dad wasn't around for most of your life?
There wasn't too much of a struggle. It was such a young age where I didn't get hit with any type of hard transition. As I got older, I definitely missed a father figure there, and my mom remarried, and so I had people around to still show me kind of that father figure and teach me things that having a man would teach you, but no one ever spoke bad of my father, no one ever said anything bad, so that was always like a really good thing, and I just loved that everybody supported, appreciated him. I was still close to his family equally just as much as my mom's, and I can't say, really what I missed and didn't miss. It was still a good childhood, and my mom covered everything.
Awesome. And that's much respect to your mom and all the moms that are out there that are listening to this, that, it's so amazing to see moms, because of different circumstances in life, step up and, work 2, 3 jobs. And I think sometimes people fail to realize how hard the ladies out there, the moms out there, are working, because I've heard a lot of different stories where moms are working again 2, 3, 4 jobs, and it kind of stinks that they have to be absent from their family so much, but then again they're doing whatever it takes to provide for their family, and so in that, Sherown, maybe your mom wasn't around as much as you would have liked or what have you, but just as you grew up realizing and recognizing the work ethic of your mother, did that have an impact on you as a younger person, and has it had an impact on you as you've grown up and become a man?
Yeah, I would say it did. She was around and she was there. I didn't realize everything that she was doing until I got a little bit older.
Okay.
Like one of the points in my childhood, I remember she was delivering newspapers in the morning, and one of the times I got to go with her, and I have no idea why I had to go or anything like that, but it was actually fun for me getting to run around in the early hours of the morning helping with newspapers. I was like a ninja playing, so
cool.
To me, it didn't seem like anything bad, but now that I'm older and I have kids of my own, you know, I understand more of what was going on and what was taking place and reasons why. And she had her family and a great support system. She always made sure that I knew my father's family as well, and they were there even in North Carolina. She made sure I saw them all the time, and you know, I appreciate it, and I'm really grateful for all of it now.
Cool. That's awesome, man. So let's move on. You mentioned sports and things like that were a pretty big part of your childhood, and connecting with friends and just playing outside. So what did the kind of like the post high school you went through high school? What did those post high school years look like? Did you continue to play sports? Where did you go to college? What did things kind of look like at that time in the game?
All of it transitioned to college. I tried a lot of different things in high school. I tried wrestling, basketball, football. The thing that probably stuck the most was track and field.
Okay.
I'm not a big guy, and especially in high school, I was 5'6", 112. So like
right.
Wrestling was good because I got put in a weight class. Track was perfect because nobody could take that away from me.
For sure.
Coaches, because of my size, I didn't get played as much doing football or basketball. I had the athletic ability, but you know there was probably some reasons why I didn't get as much play time, just purely because of size and being underestimated.
Yeah.
Track, there's nothing they can do about it. If
Absolutely.
you get a certain time, you get that time, and ended up getting a track scholarship to CSU and started running there for a couple of years. I was being hard-headed at first, and so my grades were kind of starting to suffer, and instead of staying at CSU and getting my grades up, I transferred to a junior college in Kansas, continued running track, picked up cheerleading on scholarship, ran there for 2 years, then finished it out at University of Northern Colorado for track and cheer 1 year.
Okay, cool. Now, what did you run specifically in track, and then also did you compete in any field events?
No field events. I got thrown into everything from the 100 to the 800 and relays, but my two best events were probably the 200 and the 400, more specifically the 400.
Okay, cool. Now, I ran track, in middle school and then all through high school, and I think track is an amazing sport. I feel like it's, I don't know, kind of like a forgotten sport, so to speak. It's, always usually at most high schools and colleges, it's, football, basketball, baseball, but track and field is an amazing sport, and I really enjoyed my time participating in track growing up. So was there something about track and specifically, being a sprinter, like, it's, the 100, 200, 400, it's all out. Like, there's no, I ran like 16s and 3200s and things like that. It's, obviously a little bit different strategy wise. There's some pacing and things like that, but with the sprints, it's all out. Was there something, maybe like an adrenaline rush or something like that really, brought a lot of positivity into your life, or was there something about track that really just kind of caught your attention?
I think in high school everybody wants to be fast, so I started off in the 100 and 200, and one of the days we had a harder workout and it included a 300 and 400, and I beat all the varsity athletes, and so
cool.
I got targeted by my coach. He told me I was running the 400.
Yeah. That
scared the hell out of me because it's a painful event. You try to go all out and you kind of just hold on for dear life.
For sure.
I was good at it. I somewhat enjoyed pushing through, some of the pain. Mm-hmm. Like right when you thought you couldn't go anymore, just seeing how far you could take it. And I actually enjoyed kind of that pain, like working through it and racing.
Awesome. So you mentioned a little bit, I think, in regards to like your first college, you things academically didn't go probably as planned. Was some of that those earlier experiences in college and things maybe not going the way you wanted them to? Was that was partying a part of kind of like your earlier college years and things like that, or not?
Some yes and some no. When I was in high school, I was never one of those kids to ditch or miss class or anything at all. And so when I got to college, all that structure disappears, and I was like, I don't have to go to class.
Right.
I mean, I didn't have a lot of the concepts at home where I was, leaving class and going home and studying, and so my grades started suffering.
Okay.
Being a part of a track team, it's, basically like a fraternity, so we still went out, we still drank, and sprinters, track runners, I mean, I think sports in general, everybody can push hard through things, and going out was no different. We worked hard and partied hard, and grades suffered, and had to end up switching schools.
For sure. Now, before we move on from the college years, was there maybe like one experience or one takeaway from those college years that you've kind of taken away and it still kind of is near and dear to your heart up to this point in your life?
One of the experiences I really started to, I guess, figure out through college and like switching colleges throughout the years, I was really goal driven, and I had kind of like a 5-year plan all the time, but it seemed like every year something happened or something changed, and I always had to adapt to those situations. So, I was at one school and I was eyeing the regionals 4 years out. We were going to have it on our campus. It was going to be a big deal. I was happy and looking forward to that. Changed schools, was at a junior college, and was looking forward to getting a couple national championships there. Went there 1 year, ended up cheering the next year. Just a crazy switch and change, and I was like, I wasn't expecting that at all. And then I ended up at Northern Colorado, a school I didn't plan on going to at all. It just seemed like every single year I wasn't, hitting my goals, and I had to adjust everything. And that really became a big part of my life, is having goals set, but also being able to adapt to the changes that are thrown at you and what you can do with the current situation you're in.
Right, beautiful. So that's gonna tie right into January 2014, and this is really just going to be digging into the meat and potatoes of your story, and some of those events, and bringing us up to who you are today and what you're all about today, Sherown. So just share with myself and the listeners kind of like what happened on January 2014, kind of what led to that, and then let's just unpack kind of some of the things after those events, if you don't mind sharing.
Yeah, leading up to it, life was going through a lot of ups and downs. I had a younger sister who ended up passing away due to depression and suicide 6 months before that. So personally, I was still learning how to handle and deal with that. I had a great family, 2 younger kids. I was just wrapping up my master's in software engineering. So I had a lot of good things in my life and a lot of good structure, but there was still a lot of things that I was dealing with too. And so December, the holidays got done, January hit, I was like, I just need to get away, see friends, relax a little bit. So I traveled to San Diego to catch up with some friends from college. They came over, we had an Airbnb, and we're just like wrestling around, and I got in a headlock, and it was a bigger guy that used to be the running back for CSU. So I mean, he wasn't a small guy by any means. And, he was squeezing, and I wasn't tapping out, and I was yanking my head out, and all of a sudden just heard a little crack, and my whole body just dropped and went limp. And later on found out that I fractured my C4 and C5 and was paralyzed due to a spinal cord injury.
So, in that moment, like when you heard that crack, what was, I mean, what were your initial thoughts, if really anything, in regards to maybe negative or dramatic?
I'm kind of weird about certain stuff, but I was doing jiu-jitsu before all of that, and my first thought was, well, he's not blocking my artery or anything like that, so I'm not going to pass out. And I was like, somebody has to notice that I'm not moving, and they're going to break it up or think that I passed out. And I was conscious and aware through all of it, and finally someone said, oh, he's out, stop, and they rolled me over, and I could make eye contact, and I could kind of mouth some stuff, but your lungs are paralyzed as well at that level, so I was having a really hard time speaking. And my friend rolled me over and just asked me if I could feel this or feel that, and I couldn't tell when he was moving an arm, when he was moving a leg, and I just told him to try to call someone for help. I told him that something was seriously wrong. And
Right.
fire department showed up, and they thought it was a joke at first, and ended up getting transported to La Jolla Hospital out in San Diego.
So then what kind of happened then? Once you got to the hospital and things like that, was there like, did you immediately go into surgery? What were kind of some of those happenings at the hospital once you arrived there?
I don't remember too much at the hospital. I think with a high level neck fracture like that, they put me on a bunch of medication and I was basically out.
Okay.
From what I've heard, they waited, I think, a day or two at least before they did surgery just to let some of the swelling go down and to try to minimize the impact and spinal cord injury damage. I probably came out of, the fog of all the drugs and pain meds they had me on maybe like a week and a half later, close to a full week. And I had a lot of friends in the area, so, they were there. They'd stay up with me watching movies because I couldn't sleep, or, just move my hand. Like, I'd always ask people to, like, move my legs. Like, I don't know if it's like one of those phantom pain type things where I just wanted to see my body moving, and I would ask them to move me, and I felt like I could feel something better, but, I mean, really, I was just laying there waiting to kind of see what happened.
So what was, once you kind of realized like the situation and the severity of the situation, what were some of those like initial thoughts that you were engaging in and working through once you kind of found out the severity of things and things were explained to you and you kind of came to? What were some of those initial thoughts that you were working through and experienced?
Well, when I came to, we were in San Diego and we were trying to figure out how I was going to get back home to my family and transport me. We had found out that there was a rehab facility called Craig Hospital was really highly rated and recommended, and it just so happened to be back in Colorado, so we were trying to figure out how to get me from point A to point B because insurance doesn't cover it. And
right.
Family was organizing all of that. Everyone was really careful about what they said around me. I didn't get a lot of information until I got to Craig Hospital in Colorado, and then it got pretty serious. I started hearing words like quadriplegic and tetraplegia, and I knew what a quadriplegic was, and tetraplegic is just another name for it, but that was when I was first confronted with what was going on. Up until that point, I thought, it's a neck break, bones heal, I'll be better, I'll do some rehab and be okay. When I got there and heard it was a spinal cord injury and I was going to be a quadriplegic, that was a little bit harder to deal with.
So what were some of those? So what were some of those like initial thoughts that you remember having? I mean, were you just completely like, this is it, I'm done, or was it immediately like, I'm going to fight through this and make this adversity a gift, so to speak?
At first, I just had to confront the situation. I remember waking up a couple mornings and just thinking like, good morning, Mr. Campbell, you're quadriplegic. And it was a situation where, well, what are you going to do about it now? So I'd get up, hit my therapy, start trying to figure out my meds, just really confronting like the emotional and mental aspect of it too.
Yeah.
You're laying there, you can't adjust yourself in bed, you can't blow your nose, you have no function over bowel and bladder. For the most part, you almost feel like a vegetable, but you're self-aware. You know people are keeping you alive, you're there, but you can't feed yourself, like physically incapable of doing anything. And so mentally just locking that down, trying to be supportive for my family as well, because we had just lost my sister 6 months before.
Right.
The more I smiled and the better that I handled it, the better everyone else handled it around me. So I just wanted to make sure, like, at least communicating and telling people I was okay was the big thing up front and first.
That's powerful, man. In that process, were there some dark moments and some negative thoughts that you worked through?
Some of the hardest moments, I remember the first time when they wheeled me in front of a mirror, and that probably almost immediately broke me down. Like, I didn't cry a whole lot through it, through the injury, but that was one of the moments, just because you see yourself and your body's almost completely depleted. You go through atrophy extremely fast.
Right.
I think I lost 40 pounds within the first 2 weeks. Wow. And I just didn't recognize myself anymore. Like physically, that's not who I was. And to see yourself in that condition, like, hit really hard. And then probably one of the other ones was seeing my kids for the first time. Was maybe a good month. And then seeing them, and then also again confront the idea, like, I'm not going to be throwing a ball with them. We're not going camping. I'm not going to be able to go to a sports field and get down to the field and watch them. And I mean, you just have to confront all these things. Like, so much runs through your head. Luckily, nothing was too dark or serious, though, because like I said, after losing my sister earlier on, like, I kind of made peace with that immediately, and that, you know, suicide and depression just wasn't me and wasn't something I was going to do.
Right, and something too, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you know, earlier you mentioned about a takeaway from college was, you know, being super goal driven, but then also, you know, having to adjust, you know, and there's a lot of changes because of transferring to different schools and things like that. So was that kind of what you learned from those college years? Did that really play a big role in this life change for you at that time?
Yeah, it played a huge role. Everything from mindset, meditation, relaxing, in the middle of the night, not being able to adjust yourself in bed. You can't get pissed off or upset about anything. Like, there's nothing you can do about it, so it's just getting yourself to calm down, mentally adjusting, being able to put yourself to bed or asleep, dealing with people helping you, keeping a good, healthy mindset about it all was the biggest thing. And then as I got into a power wheelchair, then I could drive myself, and I would offer to carry like my grandma or my mom's purse. I would just tell them to hang it on the chair, and that was my way of like contributing and trying to do something and find a purpose. And
yeah. So you mentioned earlier, like when you were in the first hospital, which I believe was down in San Diego, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you had a lot of friends in the area, and they came and visited, and you know, were really supportive. Did you really find a great community of support throughout the whole process when you were in the hospitals and rehabbing? Was that really something that really helped uplift you and encourage you and keep you focused on that recovery?
Yeah, without question. I had a great community from work, and so a lot of coworkers would come and visit me, and they did a fundraiser and supported me. I was competing in CrossFit at the time, so I had a great community there, and they did a fundraiser, and people were always coming over and visiting. I had my track friends, people from cheerleading, high school. I can't complain at all. Like, I'm glad I didn't burn a lot of bridges, because I needed people there, and I was almost being babysat 24 hours a day, and I always had someone there to, at minimum, talk to, but I mean, to help feed me, to help get me drinks, and even just to sit there and watch a movie with me, it meant the world. I knew I had support, but not to that extent. That really opened my eyes to caring and loving people.
And is that community still a big part of your life and an important part of your life?
It's still a big and important part. It's transitioned a little bit more over the years as I progress and move away from everything being so focused on recovery. It becomes more of a real life, real world type situation.
Yeah.
And so I still have community and support there, but I also have to, you know, do day-to-day living, and
absolutely,
it's a lot more about family and my kids, and I squeeze in recovery kind of as a second or third priority.
Love it. Okay, so I wanna begin to move, you know, our conversation to kind of what you just alluded to and mentioned, kind of like the everyday living. So, you know, at some point, you know, you're out of the hospital. So what was that day like? What was that moment like when you know, the people at the hospital said, hey, Sherown, you know, today you're able to go home? Was that like one of those kind of like monumental milestones for you personally in this new life that you were living?
It was actually scary as hell.
Okay.
When you're at the hospital, I joked around when I was there all the time, I'd call it Spa Craig.
Okay.
Because you have literally someone to feed you, wipe you, clean you, get you dressed. Everything at that hospital is modified for someone in a wheelchair, a quadriplegic, they are trained to handle and move you and do everything for you, and you're leaving that safety net, and you're relying on family members and other people that don't have medical backgrounds, that just got a crash course in spinal cord injuries. And so I was really worried. I mean, we didn't know how we were going to get me in and out of a bathtub. We had a ramp. I was married at the time, so we had a ramp to get into her family member's house, but other than that, we didn't have any modifications, and so it was, how are we going to handle these minimum things? And got home, and immediately one of the first things that happened is we do these things called weight shifts, because your body, you don't have the actual pressure and musculature in your body to pump blood back up to your brain. So if you're in a certain position or you do a weight shift, all the blood can rush from your brain down to your feet or your toes, and you basically pass out. Or you go into what's called AD, it's autonomic dyslexia. Your body almost goes into a type of shock when it doesn't know what it's doing. And so I went to sit up and blacked out and went out. I could hear the people around me, but I knew I was out. They weren't trained to recognize it right away, and luckily I was in the middle of a shift, so my feet were going up in the air and I was getting blood back to my brain, but it hit me hard. Like, I'm really going to have to pay attention to things, and I'm really going to have to advocate for myself and know what's going on, and walk people through kind of what I need to take care of myself.
So you mentioned the word fear. What was that? Was fear something that was really a part of your life as you transitioned back into kind of like the normal setting of your home and your family? Was that fear there for quite a while, or was that something in a short time frame you were able to overcome and just kind of leave behind?
Yes and no. It really shifted the dynamics of my life. I was very independent going into all of this, and I was always the one that people went to for help, and really used to taking care of myself, so I had to learn to allow people to help me and to speak up for myself, and that was a lot harder for me. Once I was able to start doing things on my own, then that's when it actually got easier for me, and getting some of that independence back, then fear kind of faded with it.
Okay, cool. Now, I want to just talk about, because, so once you kind of got back home and things, for maybe a lack of better terminology, kind of settled down, so to speak, right? What was kind of like your focus, like, because you still have to do I'm assuming, like, the at-home therapy, and you're still kind of in that recovery mode, but things are starting to settle down. Things are you're stepping into and learning kind of what your new normal is, right? So, because I want to kind of get to what happened in 2015 with the Manitou Incline. So right away, once things kind of settled, the dust kind of settled, so to speak, did you have some sort of like goal or some sort of focus of what your life was going to be, like kind of like this day forward?
There were a couple of things that we were looking at. Craig Hospital had this great program called the NRN, or Neuro Recovery Network, but it was a waiting list. And so while I was at home, I was trying to figure out how to do things on my own. And probably within a month, I got noticed that I'd be able to enter that program. And so that was a daily intensive therapy program where it was multiple hours at the hospital on a treadmill a day, just hammering out workouts, trying to get your body to move, legs to cycle through and repattern your brain to send the signals to your body to hopefully get you to walk again.
Right.
So once I got in that was the big focus, but we were also transitioning to, we were in a tri-level house, so that had to be sold. Vehicles were sold. I had to give up my job. I mean, everything that makes up your life, you kind of have to deconstruct and start rebuilding again. And probably into 2015, I had just got done with the therapy program at Craig, and it was a full year of it, and that took me from being in a power chair to a walker, and then to being able to use forearm crutches. And I started finding these weird random challenges, and I heard about the Manitou Incline, and I thought it was just steps and stairs, and thought I would try it out, and the closer I got to it, the more I realized it was going to be really difficult, but still went for it.
Yeah. So was this kind of like the Manitou incline and you going up that, conquering that, was this kind of like a part of like a fundraiser? Was that part of a group, or was this something just that you kind of came across and said, this is something that I, personally, individually want to do?
It was just an individual goal. I had got on this weird kick shortly before that where I had hiked some stairs at Cabrini Shrine outside of Golden, and I saw the incline and it said a mile, and I knew I could walk a mile. So I was like, oh, that won't be too bad, and I can do stairs. It would be a good challenge for me.
Right.
And I had just absolutely no idea that there was no easy way down. There's no parking lot at the top, and stairs are not sized, the same all the way up.
Right.
It was a lot harder than I anticipated, so I jumped into it foolishly, but it was just a goal that I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah, and you got to the top, and so what were your emotions? What were kind of those feelings? Because obviously you went into it thinking like it wasn't going to be maybe that challenging or that bad, and then once you were kind of in the midst of climbing the incline, you kind of had those emotions and feelings of like, man, this is a lot harder, this and that, but you overcame, you got to the top. So what were those feelings and emotions when you got to the top and you conquered the Manitou incline? What was going on inside of you at that time?
I was really proud to get up there. I've been physical my whole life and have had like a lot of physical accomplishments. So for me personally, it didn't seem like anything too crazy, but my mom did it with me, and she's never done anything like that. So I was like really proud of her making it up there. I had forgot shoes at my home in Denver, and I did it in slippers. So I was glad my shoes held up. But then probably the next thought was like, all right, like anything, it's the way back and the way down. And so I wasn't looking forward to that.
Yeah. So did that build though a lot of, like when everything was said and done, did that build a lot of confidence though within you just to continue to conquer goals and to go after what you wanted to go after in your life?
Yeah, it kind of just let me know that a lot was still going to be possible.
Yes.
There were so many things that I made peace with, like I'm not going to be able to do this, I'm not going to be able to do that. And I started learning and realizing I'm going to be able to do a lot, I'm just going to have to do it slower.
Right.
I'm going to have to do it in a different way. A lot of people can knock out the incline in, anywhere from 20 minutes on the fast end up to a couple of hours. And for me, it was a full day of 8 hours. But,
right.
It was something that I didn't do before I was injured. There were beautiful views, something I did with family, and that really hit for me. Like I was like, I'm still gonna be able to do stuff, still gonna be able to do challenges, I'm still gonna be able to accomplish things.
For sure. Cool. That's beautiful. Now let's just talk about, because let's talk about fitness in general, because if somebody that's listening to this goes to your Instagram page, Sherown, they're gonna find a lot of fitness. You know what I mean? So you talked about obviously you played sports growing up. You ran college track. So fitness, movement, exercise has been a big part of your life.
Correct.
So how has fitness become a positive force in your life post injury?
It's probably been the single biggest driving force for me to be able to recover anything at all. Doing sports, especially at a higher level, there's a lot of dedication, a lot of routines. You become very okay with minimal changes, putting in a lot of work to make small progressions in the end. Especially with track and field. My fastest time ever was 46.7 in the 400, and I couldn't run that on any regular given day.
Right.
It took a year to train up to that point. It took daily workouts, lifting afterwards. You can't do that every day.
Right.
And you become really okay with putting in a lot of work just for the hope of improving or getting a PR later on.
Absolutely.
And so that's just so ingrained in me. Like, I'm okay getting up every day and working and doing something to hope that I'm better at the end of the year. And some people want that immediate fix, and it just doesn't work that way. And
right.
Knowing that, being aware of that was great. Especially track, the way the body moves, the mechanics, awareness, cheerleading, same thing too. You just have a really heightened sense of your body, and I think it served me well through all of this.
So fitness would you say, and is it fair to say that fitness has been, that outlet for you to really maybe, I don't want to say check out, but just maybe step away from kind of the day-to-day struggle and things like that? Has fitness really been that outlet for you?
Yeah, it's an outlet. I mean, it serves its purpose to get better, but at the same time, it's what I enjoy going into all this.
Cool. Yeah.
It gives me routine, it gives me structure, it gives me something to work for, gives me purpose. If I was at home sitting on a couch day in and day out, mentally that would be so destructive and it would be extremely hard for me to do.
Right.
So it gives me something to keep busy with, and I mean the reward from it is absolutely great, because I mean, who doesn't want to be able to say like I had the opportunity to walk again? And it's high risk, high reward. If I sit and do nothing, mentally it's going to crush me. Physically it's could be life ending.
Right. So what is kind of your fitness regimen look like nowadays? Is it just focusing more maybe like on some functional movements? Is it more kind of like the bodybuilding stuff? What's kind of like your fitness focus today?
It's been a mix. The spinal cord injury throws in so many curveballs. Probably one of the first things I do in the morning is stretching. You have very intense spasms that pull your body in different directions. Your body is just this broken puzzle piece, and you don't always have full functioning control of stuff. And so it started causing scoliosis and muscles that cramp up. I'm trying to correct atrophy. So I'll stretch first thing in the morning. I also do weightlifting because, you want to get stronger. I do a lot of repatterning, relearning movements. I explain it to friends and family almost like learning to drive a car or a stick shift. When you're initially learning to drive, you're thinking through every step. It's like clutch, brake, clutch, gear left, over, up, turn signal, look rear view mirror. You're having to break down every single movement, and the more you do it, the more you repeat a task, the easier it becomes, where you can almost be on autopilot, and people are texting and driving on their way home.
Right.
And so hopefully I want to get my walking to that point where right now I'm thinking about toe up, engaging my shin, hamstring, heel to the butt, lift up, extend, all of these things, and especially through track drills that I have broken down, and just repeating that over and over again so it's autopilot. And so that repatterning portion I'll try to do on a treadmill, physical therapy, acupuncture, massage, a lot of alternative help and medicine to just try to get me back to normal.
Yeah. No, you just mentioned like massage, and I saw on your Instagram, maybe I think it was your stories, but maybe it was a regular post, but you getting some cupping done. So is that a modality that you found to be beneficial in this process?
Yeah, there's so many modalities that are helpful, but especially for me, things like massage, cupping, dry needling. I can't physically always get my body into certain positions or doing stretches. Like in track, I could put my leg on a table and stretch out my hamstring.
Right.
Currently, I can't really stretch my hamstring on my own.
Okay.
I can't physically use a roller to roll the back of my hamstring. A foam roller, it's really tough for me to get the right position to stretch and do these things. So I need something like a physical therapist or a massage therapist to hit these areas, and cupping, dry needling, or the massaging, really help do what I can't do.
Right. Now, in regards to the fuel that you're putting in your body, like nutrition-wise, have you found what you eat to be a big role in how you feel, how your body feels and functions, as well as has that nutrition played a big role in this entire process as well?
Nutrition plays a big role in fitness in general. For me, when you're paralyzed, and especially being a quadriplegic, people don't realize that your internal organs are also smooth muscles as well. So something like the intestine becomes paralyzed, and what you eat is harder on your intestines and your stomach, and so it takes longer to process. It completely changes everything, where people are always disgusted about it, but it's it's a human need, like things like bowel and bladder.
Absolutely.
If you can't pass a bowel movement, or if you can't do something, you're in trouble. And so what you eat really does matter. You can't eat a lot of junk food, different types of sugars, red meats I had found out were harder for my stomach to process for a long time. So I started doing green shakes in the morning, kind of self-medicating through diet, oats for fiber to help with bowel movements. I had blueberries and turmeric and different stuff to help with muscle spasms. Caffeine or even sometimes something like a pre-workout would even help promote like a bowel movement. Instead of taking, I think I left the hospital close to 36 medications at some point.
Wow.
And so just starting to try to knock off that list and seeing what I could replace the medication with by using food or putting something into my diet was a huge part. And I mean, now, of course, I've been on the treadmill a lot more, so I've had to up my food intake and eat things just so I don't even thin out. Because, I mean, it's constant movement and your body works so much harder to accomplish things.
Right. Now, in regards to, again, nutrition is because we know, being in fitness and caring about, our physique and strength, protein specifically of the macronutrients is very important in gaining strength and muscle. Have you found that your protein needs and that protein intake is something that is vital to really pay attention to in you gaining more strength and becoming the individual that you want to become?
Yeah, I've paid attention to all that stuff. I can tell when my body gets fatigued, and for me, fatigue comes off a cliff. I mean, it could hit in the middle of cooking dinner. I just have to lay on the floor and sprawl out because I don't have any energy left.
Wow.
So I really have to keep up a healthy diet and protein needs and stuff so my body can just function. What used to be really easy and almost effortless to do is the equivalent of me hiking a 14er or me doing something very, very difficult. Like my body's running on full all the time.
Right.
And so I need protein, I need good food, I need tons of water.
Right. So obviously, we live in Colorado, so there's, some different alternative medicines that are available to us that other states and other people don't have, like cannabis and things like that. Has cannabis or CBD or anything like that, supplements like that, alternative medicines like that, have any of those or other ones outside of the two I just mentioned, have any of those played a role in your recovery process and again, you just becoming stronger?
Not at this point. I'm such a weirdo from all my years of running track and collegiate sports.
Mm-hmm.
They drug tested me thoroughly, so CBD or marijuana from other people that I've heard, and especially like quadriplegics, helps with pain, helps with spasms.
Yeah.
It does wonders, but it's not something that I've done just because of my own kind of stigma about it.
Yeah.
And then also transitioning and stuff and being a father on my own, I know they have different things that don't have THC, but for me, I have to be on point and functioning at such a high level all the time. I try to stay away from anything that could possibly dull me down, slow things down, or anything at all.
Right. Perfect. Cool. I appreciate you being open and sharing that because with CBD, I've heard amazing things. NFL, football players and these high functioning, high level athletes and things like that in regards to pain. The research I've done and the podcasts I've listened to, I've only heard positive things. You know what I mean? So, but I appreciate you sharing your perspective and your take on that because it's awesome to just say, hear some people say, yeah, you know what, it works for me, I love it. And then somebody like you just like, hey, you know what, it's not for me, and I choose not to use it. So I appreciate you, talking about that, Sherown, and being open. So let's talk about, because you train people, right, in regards to fitness and kind of like personal training. Do you do some of that or not?
Not currently. I used to help out friends a lot, and it was something that I wanted to kind of move towards.
Okay.
In the undergraduate years, I wanted to do personal training, and I was in kinesiology, running track and CrossFit. I mean, I just love sports and movement in general, so I have a really good hold on all of it, but I haven't done any personal training myself. Okay.
So, in to kind of wrap things up with fitness, kind of what is your fitness goal, in the sense of, do you want to, just through some of your life circumstances, do you want to use fitness to kind of encourage others, or kind of what is your fitness goal in the sense of impacting other people's lives?
So far it's been kind of cool, just because there's other people with the same injury or going through different things, and for them to see what I accomplished gives them some type of hope or ideas to at least go out and try it. I haven't got into doing anything as a profession or career driven.
Right.
Sometimes it's hard for people to accept, I guess, advice from someone that's using crutches or struggling to get around. Or
it's understandable.
I'm, doing bench press with like 30 or 45 pounds sometimes, and they don't always want to hear fitness advice from the person that they feel they're doing better than. So hopefully I can get to a point where I can share more information with people that are willing to take it. Right now, that's usually me talking to people that are more in the medical field or working on rehab or recovery in different ways.
Okay, cool. Now, one of the things that you have listed on your Instagram is advocate, and that's something that I said in the introduction to introduce you, Sherown. So, what type of advocacy are you involved in, and what does that kind of mean to you?
I've done some with nonprofits and some speaking, fundraising, these types of traumatic events, and I've had the hardship of learning it firsthand. Insurance doesn't always cover everything. Medical drugs are thrown pretty quickly at people, so I'm really trying to help show that there's alternative medicines. Not only are they helpful, but they need to be covered. They need to be supported by insurance. It's way cheaper to send someone to massage or acupuncture with no side effects than it is to give someone a $300 prescription a month that's going to completely destroy them mentally, emotionally, have them addicted, and a lot worse down the road.
Right.
So that's one of the things that I care about a lot. And then the mental health aspect of it, from my own family members that have struggled with things, and then myself going through all this without the mental health and positive outlook on things, I know this would have completely destroyed me. Even just my injury alone, seeing how it took a toll on family members and those close to me, it's hard, and there's not a lot of support for it, and it's not something people speak about a lot.
Right.
And so I try to just be really transparent about it. It's a good thing and a bad thing that I'm optimistic about stuff all the time, but I really just want to teach and let people know, when things are hard, it's okay to say things are hard. When things are tough, it's okay to say that too. It's okay to stand up for yourself or get out of bad situations. There's nothing wrong with that at all, and I think sometimes it's looked at as a weakness. And like I said, me accepting help was one of the hardest things that I did early on with my injury, and letting people know sometimes you just need help no matter what it's with.
Right. Have there been any mentors in your life that have really encouraged you and inspired you and really helped you continue to move on from day to day? And these could be, maybe somebody that's, in your life personally and you see them on a regular basis, or maybe it's somebody on Instagram or something of that nature. But has there been any type of mentors in your life?
I guess this is kind of a cheat, but I really take a little bit from everybody. I mean, I feel like everybody has something to offer, whether they were a good part or a tough part of my life. I still learned and took something from those times. Whether it's people my mom ended up dating down the road that filled the gap, whether it was coaches at different schools, the way I see people parenting their kids when their kids have questions, even going through like bad breakups. I mean, I've learned something from every single person in my life, and I really kind of enjoy it. It gives me a lot of different perspectives, but if you ever have called someone a tool or talked badly about them, every tool has a purpose, and that's the way that I look at it. That's
cool, man. Is there somebody like maybe on Instagram or somebody that's like kind of within the fitness world that you kind of look up to, or somebody that you like to kind of follow on social media?
I mean, everybody that I've met through this experience, like, people that have gone through something hard or challenging, it's like they have so many amazing stories. You meet so many amazing people. My sweet mate at the hospital was a CrossFit guy, Kevin Ogre. Like, now he's teaching adaptive CrossFit classes.
Yeah.
I had the chance of meeting like Amy Van Dyken at the hospital, and she's been a huge advocate and public speaker, and has gone on to continue doing amazing things with her life. And,
yeah.
Met a little girl, Savvy. She was injured in a car accident when she was younger, and to see her continuing to, blossom as a young woman, middle school, going to high school and living her life. Friend Tyler. I mean, there's just so many incredible people going through what we would consider just terrible circumstances, and they're still enjoying life. They're still doing a lot with their life, and
right.
I mean, I just absolutely love seeing it. So
cool.
I follow them.
Yeah. Kevin, he actually was at my CrossFit level 1 certification. Mm-hmm. So I didn't personally really meet him, but he was one of the instructors. I did that. I think that was a couple years ago in Boulder, and I've followed him a little bit on Instagram, and he's got an amazing story. You know what I mean? Because I believe he was injured at an actual CrossFit competition. Is that correct?
Yeah. He was doing snatch and belled, and it bounced off, I believe, some plates behind him and caught him in the lower back. And, and even take that and then now teach people how to lift and do adaptive workouts and exercises. And I catch him every once in a while when I can. Like, his gym's a little far for me to make it on a regular basis, but I mean, he's helping so many people and doing so much at his gym. It's like, it's hard enough dealing with your own stuff, but when you have the energy or your cup's full enough to help others, I mean, I can't say a bad thing about that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, you kind of just mentioned a little bit about, people's stories, and, that Sherown is the focus of my podcast. Is like, when I reach out to people, I tell them it's a platform for my guests to share their story so that those who listen would be positively impacted. So, for you personally, what's the value, what's the importance of you going out into the world and sharing your story, and how important is it for all of us as human beings when we have an opportunity, we have a chance to share our story?
I think it's important for people to be aware of other things going on and share what happens to their life, because especially for me, and going through the hospitals and seeing all these different people, it doesn't matter what their politics are, it doesn't matter what their race is, doesn't matter what their sex is. We are going to get hit with something in our lives at some point in time. Even if we're lucky enough to grow to old age in itself is something that you're going to confront and deal with. We hear so many people speak negatively about certain things, and it drives me nuts, because it's like, you say that until it happens to your family member, your father, your brother,
great point,
mother, or kids. And I mean, we have to share these things, and you have to share your story so people can be aware and hopefully be mindful when they're, talking to others or when they have to deal with it themselves.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Cool. So I wanna talk a little bit about fatherhood. I had the honor and the pleasure to meet your daughter when I came into the house, and what has fatherhood done for you, and what does it mean to you to be a dad?
Oh man, it means everything. Like, I was you want to talk about scary or fear, getting introduced to kids and having this blank slate, that's something entirely different, and having that responsibility put on you. And my kids were 1 and 3 at the time of my injury, and I thought I lost everything as far as being a part of their life. And I attached so much to my physical being, I didn't understand that being a father is more about love and support and compassion, and the way they see me handle situations and the way they see people treat me is teaching them so much, and seeing this blank slate grow into, a caring and loving child, and being able to share life with them and different perspectives with them is just such a cool thing to me.
Mm-hmm. What's if you had a choice, because we don't always have a choice in this, but if you had a choice to pass something on to your kids, and I say we don't always have a choice because, again, they hear us when we speak, right? they see us when we're just out living our lives, and they pick up on things that, you know, we don't always necessarily want them to pick up on, or what have you. But if you had a choice for your son and your daughter to take one thing away from you as they grow up and as they step into adulthood, you know, in the years to come, what would be that one thing that you would really want your kids to take away from your life?
Probably two things. The one would probably go back to that adversity as a gift, them learning how to handle situations and handle them well, like looking at things in a positive way and moving forward from those things. The other part would probably be just understanding for themselves and others, acceptance of who they are, being proud of who they are, being proud of others, accepting others even if there is differences. And, you know, if they can do those two things, you know, I've done my job and I'd be more proud than anyone.
Beautiful. That's cool. So we've talked about mindset a little bit, you know, specifically and especially kind of like, you know, when your accident first happened, but just in day-to-day life, you've talked about, you know, just kind of like the things that you have to do that were just, you know, a second nature before your injury. Now, you know, you there's so much energy, there's so much focus, there's so much strength, there's so much of everything within you to kind of go through the day-to-day and do the quote-unquote normal things, or things that were just second nature before the injury, as I mentioned before. What is your mindset like today, and how important is it for you to have your mind in the right place each and every day?
I mean, sometimes I just gotta just shut up in the morning and do whatever it is that I need to do. And the same way, the acceptance and understanding, like for my kids, like I've really had to learn how to have that for myself. I mean, I went from being extremely physical, very active. I probably haven't had more judgment at any other point in time in my life until I've been injured. People just think that you're not capable or, you know, able to do a lot of things. And even my kids, they've taught me so much. I remember when they first started soccer, they weren't confident in playing, they were nervous about it, and they asked if I could help be the assistant coach for their soccer team. To me, that just changed everything, because my self-confidence and my self-worth is, I've never played soccer. I have no idea about soccer. Two, physically, I had no confidence that I'm going to be able to go out there and actually do anything, teach anything, or add value to a team. But my kids had that faith in me, and they had that understanding, and they wanted me there, and that was like, okay, you just shut up and do it. Just try it. If it means something to them, you know, I can swallow my pride and, you know, fix my own issues with confidence and get out there and do it. And they loved it. The other kids loved it. I even got called a cheater a couple of times because I was using crutches to block balls. And I was like, you know, they don't see a disability or anything at all. They see me the way I handle it. And I was like, I just got to keep on the same path, because it's good for me, it's good for family and those around me.
So we're coming up on an hour of our conversation. So we're going to kind of start moving towards the finish line here. Sherown, a few more things that I just kind of want to touch on. I want to talk about social media, because, you know, for me, I love social media. I really love Instagram. I always say Instagram is my jam. My podcast wouldn't be in existence if it wasn't for Instagram. Our conversation right now wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for Instagram. So how have you found social media, and probably specifically, you know, referring to Instagram, how have you found social media to be a positive tool and a positive, you know, outlet for you to connect with other people that are going through difficult circumstances or situations, and how have you found social media to be something that you can use to positively impact the world?
It's been great for me. Initially, before the injury, I didn't have social media accounts just because I was focused on school and family. Then after I got hurt, though, I mean, being paralyzed, you're isolated usually in a room so much by yourself, where that became my gateway and my outlet to be able to communicate with people and to have a social life, just for day-to-day communication. Then I started using it to post pictures and videos of myself just so I could track changes.
Yeah.
Because day to day, I wasn't seeing a difference and I wasn't feeling a difference. So I wanted to be able to look back on something and see how it was changing. And then all of a sudden I started seeing that there were more people dealing with the same stuff. I mean, you can find pretty much a niche or a community for anything that you can think of. And so I found there's other quadriplegics that walk. I found, other people that were paralyzed that were having the same issues that I was, or range of motion, fitness people with backgrounds that could help me or offer advice. And I mean, just that community there and being able to almost outsource questions to people that have lived it and done it. I mean, it's just huge.
Yeah. So, just moving kind of like in the direction of the message that you want to share with the world. If somebody is listening to your story right now through this podcast, and they have a similar injury that you have, or they're just simply going through a very dark, hard time, Sherown, what would you want to share with that individual or those individuals? What would you want to just kind of tell them as they're going through some difficult, dark times?
It's easier said than done, and it's a cliche term, but things do get better. If you can find a way to handle and manage your mindset, and if you can do something mentally for yourself, there's really nothing that you can't, deal with or work through or work around. You can find happiness and enjoyment in pretty much anything. It's just the way that we perceive it or the way that we look at things. As a quadriplegic and not being able to do anything physical for such a long time, I still found something to laugh about just about every day. I was still joking with my friends. I would trigger spasms and tell them to fetch my hand or my arm and put it back on an armrest. I mean, I'd still found ways to have fun and smile and make it through those days. And if you can master that ability, I mean, you'll get through anything.
Cool. So, two more questions. What do you want your legacy to be?
Ooh, that's tough. I guess just that I enjoyed life. I mean, I didn't shy away from a lot. I took calculated risks. I tried to do the smart and right thing under just about any circumstance that I could. I tried to support family and friends and just lived. Cool.
All right, so Sherown, the last question that I have for you is, what lights you up?
Oh, right now it's just kids, man. These two kids are the driving force of my days, and they keep me going, they keep me laughing, and they keep me joking. They keep me on my toes and honest about stuff. I mean, that's the light of my day and the biggest driving force right now. They'll get me out of the door and trying things that I never thought I would, and I don't think it's going to stop anytime soon as they're aging and getting older.
Yeah. No, and again, I know I already kind of mentioned this, but I again had the pleasure to meet your daughter as I came into the house, and she's just a beautiful light. You know what I mean? She had a soccer game earlier today, and she said she scored a goal, and I don't have kids myself personally. I've been in education. Been around kids a lot in my life. There is just something that, like, you can't stay angry, you can't stay depressed, what have you. You can't stay in that darkness very long if you have kids in your life, if you're surrounded by kids, because there's something special, man. Especially younger kids, they're growing up. A lot of kids are growing up in tough situations, but still, there's a lot of that innocence, that we lose as life happens to us as we get older. So
that darkness is just completely absent with them.
Yeah, man.
They smile no matter what.
Right.
If you're having a bad day, you're just like, okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah. No, your daughter was definitely just a light when I walked in, and that's awesome that you get to experience that every day. So Sherown, I just want to thank you for sharing your story today with myself and the 127 Fit podcast listeners. I know that when people hear your story as they're listening to it, as we wrap things up right now, people are going to be positively impacted. And I just want to acknowledge you right now and your focus on positivity and overcoming and taking something that most people, including myself, would look at, the accident and the situation you have endured and had to go through as something that's, super negative, and I don't even know how I'd be able to deal with all that. You've taken that, man, and you're using it again to positively impact the world and to change lives. So I just want to acknowledge you and thank you for being an example, and thank you for being someone to follow, because that is really kind of the mantra of my life, and this podcast is, being someone to follow. So you're doing that, and I just want to thank you for that.
Well, thank you for having me. I mean, I appreciate it. I do a lot of this stuff for myself, so when other people get something from it or I get acknowledgement from it, sometimes it's hard for me to accept it, but I really do appreciate it. It means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And so if somebody wants to follow along your journey, if somebody wants to find out more about you, Sherown, where can the listeners find you on social media?
I have most social media sites for friends and family. Even if you Google, I have a unique first name. It's Sherown or Sherown. Google it. Usually Instagram comes up, Facebook comes up.
Okay.
Hospitals, track and field.
Cool. All right. So also, before I kind of wrap things up here, I want to give a shout out to Tim Barr, because he's actually the one that told me, he's like, he podcast with me here recently, and he's like, hey man, he's like, I got somebody that I'm gonna introduce you to through Instagram. He's like, you gotta check him out, get him on your podcast. He's got an amazing story, and that was you. So Tim, I know at some point you're gonna be listening to this episode. I just want to thank you for connecting Sherown and myself, and just shout out to you, my man. So 127 Fit listeners, I just want to thank you once again for tuning in, hanging out with Sherown and myself today. Your listening ears, your time is always greatly appreciated. If you want to find out more about the guests that I'm bringing on to the 127 Fit podcast, if you want to find out a little bit more about myself, you can find me on Instagram at 127 Fitness. My personal Instagram is at QVars. Facebook is at Quentin Vars. And if you guys would do me a huge favor and please leave a 5-star rating and review for this episode and all the episodes that you're listening to, that would be greatly appreciated. Also, subscribe to the podcast if you think you would be a great guest, or if you have a friend or an acquaintance or acquaintances that you think would be a great guest or guest for the podcast. Send me an email or give your friend or your acquaintances this email, and the email is 127fit@gmail.com. And as you are finding value in the episode or episodes of the 127 Fit podcast, again, a huge favor I'd ask of you guys is that you would share that episode or episodes on your Facebook and Instagram stories, and then please use the hashtag #BeSomeoneToFollow. And per the usual, I will leave you with Proverbs 24:10, which states, "If you faint in the day of adversity, your strength is small." This time until next time, I will catch you guys later.